Alright, so what I'm going to do is respond to an email question. But I'll check to make sure that whoever posted this is happy with me posting a public video as a response. So, is this Magella or Mayella? I really don't know how that's pronounced. Sorry. Asks, "Hi David, hope you're feeling better and your hernia sorted out. I hope it's okay. Thank you. Hope it's okay to ask you another question. I noticed that while I'm in the shower and close my eyes, there seems to be something not touched by the water. There's a noticing of the body washing itself. In that observation, there seems to be separation. There seems to be something back here watching the body move, and that seems separate from the body. Although I'm reasoning you can't have one without the other. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. Can you talk about that, please?" So the sense I get from this is that that sense of a watcher, that sense of something being aware of sensation which is back here or separate from the sensation. I'm going to say as an imagined position. So you said there seems to be something back here watching the body move that seems to be separate from the body. So you've got the so if if you try this, right? So if you pay attention to that position that seems separate from the body, observing the body, what is it observing that seems like the body? And then compare that to the sensations themselves, the pure sensory experience, the immediate sensory experience, the sensation, the feeling. So like the sensation of your hands, your head, the water hitting your body without the idea of water and body. And see if that sense of a position separate from the body is observing an image of the body, an idea of the body. And for me at least, I had a spatial formed quality to it. Like there was a seeing of an image that looked like the body. A bit more subtle than that. And it was kind of augmented on top of the sensations of the body. There was a spatial aspect to it, and there was something separate from looking at, feeling to it. And it was what it was looking at was an imagined position, an imagined subjective pole, seeming to observe an imagined body form, an imagined body shape or image that it was separate from, or up here in relation to, or back here in relation to. I'm going to suggest that that's all augmented onto the sensory experience by thought, to give that idea of I'm me up here observing the sensations of my body here in this room, and it's doing this. It's in the shower, it feels what there is a subtle image of water hitting the body. There's a subtle image of my shoulder, where it is spatially, what it looks like, where my head is, and all that. See if you go directly into the sensation. First of all, notice that that's a projection, an image. It's a thought augmentation that seems to encapsulate or contain the sensations in a separated way, separate from the environment, separate from the other sensations, separate from the visual, feel and the sound. When you notice that, then it becomes more obvious. What becomes more obvious is the sensations themselves. And the quality of the sensations themselves, they don't have shape. Find this out for yourself. They don't have shape, they don't have form, they don't have space, they don't have size, there aren't separate sensations, there aren't separate sounds. There's almost like a homogeneous amalgam, singularity of all these this sensory input, this cluster of sensations. They're all indistinguishable from other sensations, and they all kind of undulate and morph and move in a non-separated and timeless, impossible way. What makes it structured and separate and ordered and seem like something with solidity and continuity is the sense of a me observing something real. And I think that's what you're describing as the sense of something back here watching the experience. But then I noticed what you said at the start, which I noticed while I'm in the shower. I close my eyes and there seems to be something not touched by the water. So is that something not touched by the water? Can that be found if we just focus on the sensations? Can that be found separate from the sensations themselves? Is it actually there? Can there be found in the sensations an observer separate from the sensations observing them? Or it might start to feel like the sensations are appearing within the observer, within the awareness that is the observer. The sensations, the form is manifesting within that, and that awareness encapsulates the entire experience. That would be, I guess, a form of non-dual experience. I guess what you're describing is a form of non-dual experience, where it depends if there's locality to the sense of the observer. See if you can find the observer, see if you can find the sense of the something separate from this observing it, separate from the actual manifestation itself. So you know, with this calming down of the mind, with this disidentification from thought, what becomes more obvious is the sensory experience itself. But I'll describe my own experience. For me, there was a sense of an awareness here, a deep connection with, or embodiment of this aware beingness that somehow seems in some way local, separate from the world of manifestation. Upon investigation, it couldn't be found separate from anything. So then it had this kind of infinite expansive quality that encompassed the entire sensory experience in its entirety. But there was a suggestion of, a subtle suggestion of that's a something else. There's a something that's here that doesn't come and go. There's the awareness, the knowingness behind all this, non-local somewhere that is subtly somewhere else or behind, or all of this is disappearing into and emerging from. The more subtle this investigation gets, it becomes clear that that's not there in experience. That the subtle something elseness isn't there in experience. The locality in whatever form of the observer, the awareness, the consciousness, separate from the sensory experience, is seen to be not present in experience. So then that suggestion of that very fundamental level of identity is then replaced by just the experience itself, without something separate from the experience to be able to give it continuity, or give it inherent reality, or an inherent viewpoint, a substance, underlying background, as a form of kind of identity or entity or universal purpose or consciousness. And that's a massive realization, because then it's fully clear that this is it, this is all there is, and there's nothing else here. There's no something else. There's no background continuum or background intelligence separate from manifestation that's doing the manifestation or making it happen or observing it in a impartial, detached way. That's an incredible sense of unity, but then that sense of unity is replaced by the extremely paradoxical interconnectedness of an impossible to comprehend interconnectedness of all this manifesting immediately right now as this sensory experience, without the need for there to be an awareness separate from it, other than just the awareness that you can't even call awareness, because it is the experience, it is the sensation, and it arises due to the innumerable conditions and simultaneous chain reaction that's all happening as this one expression. The interconnectedness is so connected, so simultaneous, that it's all happening and not happening right now in this sensory experience. So it all becomes just about, so simple, just about the experience, just the sensation, just the experience, just this that you hear all the time. And you can then directly experience that, nothing has inherent existence separate from anything else. Like, for example, your eyeball has no inherent existence aside from light, the sun, aside from what's seen, the apparent form. None of those are inherently existing, inherently independent, and that can be very difficult to explain, but that can be directly experienced and directly felt as what this is right now. Such that what's seen over there is no less your eyeball than your eyeball. What's seen over there is no less you than you could say. But there's no background identity that's tying it all together into a continuum, into a timeline. There's no background you uniting this or putting it all together, holding it all together. It's entirely free, such that every movement, every expression is the whole universe expressing itself simultaneously, infinitely, not bound by time or separation or dependency, depending on something else, something separate from it. Everything depends on everything, such that there aren't even things. It's so weird, it's so hard to explain. I've kind of tangented off here, but the key to that is just in the sensation. In the sensation, can you find a local awareness somewhere, anywhere, behind manifestation, behind you and here somewhere out there? Can you find that? Can you find the vantage point when you look around, when you're looking? Anywhere in this, can you find the vantage point? Can you find a position that's not suggested or assumed in thought? By a thought? By a position, interpretation, assumption? Just keep moving around, keep trying to find it, and the less you find what's assumed, the less hold the assumption has, the less reality the assumption has. This can bring up a lot of emotion and physical sensation, fear, all sorts of stuff this can bring up, because when the assumption that is holding the continuity of the self and that narrative, even at a subtle level together, when that's continually not found in experience, as it comes apart, as it dissolves, let's say, it also releases the emotional accumulation that is held in that subtle narrative, and it all comes up now. It all comes up without limit, immediately, without a filter, without separation, all as the immediate manifestation, expression of the universe. And it can be very intense. So like, in my own experience, there was I described this emotional flavour of the witness, I called it, emotional flavour memory of the witness. So, and I always describe it like you smell a smell, you hear a song that reminds you of a time in your life, and it has this emotion tone to it, undefinable but potent, that comes up, and it feels almost visceral, and it feels intertwined and expressed without limitation in the environment, in the body, so on and so on. It's just the rising of this almost romanticized emotional flavour memory tone. It's the best way I can describe it, and it has a very subtle narrative to it. And it has a very subtle something elseness to it. It has a very subtle thingness to it, and that had for me that had a quality of unrealness to it, but at the same time it was somehow more real than this. And with that, the unrealness was emphasised, the something elseness was emphasised, and it was kind of like a disassociative position, a subtle viewpoint position, and the unreal quality gave it a kind of disassociative tone that seemed to be useful for, at a very fundamental level, avoiding full immersion into the experience, let's say, full experiencing without limit. And a lot of that had to do with this emotion that was being avoided. When it was clear that that isn't there in experience, I was clinging on to that which doesn't come and go, over the transient nature of the senses, and it was all linked together by the something that's not this. When it was clear that that couldn't be held on to anymore, that was an energetic thought pattern, essentially. It was a form of thought really deeply mixed up with emotion. Then it was like, man, I really thought there was this thing. I really felt that there was this thing, and that was a massive hit, because it was like real. It was the realness of this hit me, and it was clear that there was no mechanism in place there to be able to avoid the expression of what was being felt. What was being felt was arising due to the movement of the whole universe, and it was clear there was nothing that could avoid it, and that was really intense. But that's just to highlight how deeply we hold on to this idea of a something else, this idea of a something in here or something out there, separate from this, linking it all together, observing it, controlling it, holding back from fully engaging experience, fully becoming experience. Without the filter of that suggestion of a separate position that we can fall back onto. And it doesn't exist in the senses, in the seen, in the heard, in the sensation, the touch. It's not there. All that's there is the sensation. And you can't, it's so paradoxical, you can't see a single word that can come anywhere near to capturing it. So in your comment there, so I don't know why this feels relevant to talk about, but it's just coming out. So, so you've got a definite, direct experience of the sensation. You've got a definite direct experience of consciousness, the knowingness, the awareness, in a non-conceptual sense. I can kind of tell by your comment that you have that direct experience. You're not sure where I'm going with this. Just go into the sensation. So what comes with that subtle position is also a need to figure it out, or a need to stabilize the experience so it can refer to it. And it does it in such subtle ways, and it just goes deeper and deeper. Just go into the mystery of the sensations completely and let go of the need to figure it out, and because that isn't inherent in the sensations, in the appearance, in the sound. There's complete certainty in the sensations, complete mystery as well. Anything that makes it seem like there's something that's not that, that's not this, that's back here or out there, that needs to figure it out, is a thought, is a fabricated augmentation of experience that isn't experience, that subtly isn't experience. Don't know if that makes any sense to you. And that there's an awareness of something that's not touched by the water, something that's there observing back here. That there's an awareness of that suggests that that's an experience. That's an experience itself. The one observing is an experience. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to refer to it and talk about it. It's an experience. So again, all there is experience. With nothing experiencing this other than the experience itself. Or nothing that can be found anyway. Nothing tangible that we can talk about. So that's another. So that can then just become part of the objective pole. And then what's left to be the subject? Nothing. And if there's no subject, also there's no object. But you can experience that directly. That's not a conceptual statement. That's an invitation to directly experience what I'm talking about. And the entry point to that is just sensation, the senses. Anyway, let me know if that's helpful. Hopefully, I might be way off with that, I don't know, but let me know if that's helpful. And any more questions, just let me know, and I'll talk to you next time.